Has continued, in fact, the news coming through. Coming out onto the circuit next is Pedro Lamy, a very impressive returnee to Grand Prix racing so far.
Very much so, and he's impressed, I think, the entire pit lane with the performance that he's dragged from the Minardi Ford chassis. And in fact, I think has gingered up a bit Luca Badour, who previously was Pierluigi Martini, who in fact is here this weekend supporting the Minardi team, has had to literally pull his finger out, because the young Portuguese driver has performed extremely well, and he's maintained that performance through this morning again. He was fractionally quicker than his more experienced teammate in the Minardi team. And well, Luca Badour has been out once already, completed 4 laps, is in 11th place, and that's an improvement of 4 from his Friday qualifying. So Pedro Lamy on the circuit, let's have a look and see if he can get himself up into the top 10. He certainly was inside the top 10 at different points on Friday. Ultimately ended up 14th quickest.
Indeed, a very good performance, and we mustn't forget that he's a former German Formula 3 champion, of course, Pedro Lamy. So a good background, and coming back into Grand Prix racing, putting in an excellent performance. Well, Mika Häkkinen getting ready. I wonder, John, if they're going to rush getting Mika out there now because of perhaps of the chance of getting Mark in his car later in the session.
I would think because he's got a reasonably good time, the team are going to concentrate on Häkkinen and hope that Häkkinen can repeat what we saw him do this morning, and that's get onto the front row of the grid. If there is time left and it's possible to put Mark Blundell into that car, then they may consider it. But the main focus will be getting Mika Häkkinen as far up as possible.
So Pedro Lamy goes on to a flying lap. This is first flying lap effectively. And down through the right-hander where Max Papis went off earlier on. Certainly for Pedro Lamy, it's an important return here in Hungary. He is due to do the rest of the season now, so it's not as if it's just a one-race deal. He's got the confidence that he's in the car for the rest of the season, and that should allow him to build up the results.
Well, the more track time, the more testing time a driver has, then the stronger his confidence can grow. And what has impressed me about Pedro Lamy is he's had very little time in any sort of car since that appalling accident last May. He had a number of hours at Fiorano, the Ferrari test track, before he came here. But to be able to jump into a car which is quite different to the car he raced and was testing last year, I think it's a really remarkable performance.
Best position he's had so far in his short career of 8 races has been an 8th place, so he's never scored any points. But with Minardi Ford, well, perhaps he's got a chance. They haven't had many points, if any, this year. They've had a bit of a tough season so far. But let's see if this is an improvement for Lamy. Well, 15, so no improvement. Well, there's an improvement in time fractionally. He's 0.3 of a second faster. And there's Mark Blundell walking back, and a big disappointment for him. An improvement by a second on his very first time lap. And now, of course, the car not able to be used for the rest of this session.
Well, Pedro Lamy, just going back to what he has done, I think that first lap was not really a serious attempt to improve his time. You're being in a car for the first time after such a long layoff. He still hasn't got that ability, I would think, to go out and do those blinding first lap qualifying laps that so many other drivers are capable. I would expect to see this as second flying lap, a significant improvement. Remember, this morning he got down to a 1:21.6. and that's some 0.7 of a second quicker than he's just done on that first lap. So I'd expect to see an improvement from Lamy on this lap. We have just to wait.